Hello everyone, and welcome back to Mr. Dark Spectrum. One of authorities' main tactics to prosecute a offender is an interrogation so that the suspect give more information for a arrest. While some of these interviews tend to be open and shut, some tend to be far more disturbing than others. From a woman who murdered her own children to a man who believes he's the Antichrist. Here is 5 disturbing interviews of murderers. Number 5. Elizabeth Diane Downs is an American criminal who murdered her daughter and attempted to murder her other 2 children. On May 19, 1983, Downs shot her 3 children and drove them to Mackenzie Willamette Hospital. Upon arrival, Danny, age 3, was paralyzed from the waist down. Christy, age 8, suffered a disabling stroke, and Cheryl, age 7, was already dead. Downs would claim she was carjacked on a dirt road near Springfield, Oregon, by a strange man who shot her and her children. Forensic evidence contradicted her story after it was concluded there was no blood splatter on the driver's side of the car, nor was there any gunpowder residue on the driver's door on the interior door panel. Suspicion heightened when Downs phoned Robert Knickerbocker, a married man in Arizona with whom she had been having an extramarital affair upon arrival at the hospital to visit her children. While police were not able to find the actual weapon, they found unfired casings in her home with exterior markings from the murder weapon. Downs did not disclose to police that she owned a handgun. Witnesses would also report they saw her driving slowly to the hospital, which contradicted her claim that she drove at high speeds. Downs was arrested 9 months after the shooting and charged with 1 count of murder and 2 counts each of attempted murder and criminal assault.
We were just out, sightseeing, you'd say. And the kids got tired. They fell asleep in the car, so I decided to just head on home. But I saw a road I hadn't been on before. We like to take back roads, and just went down that road.
It was on this dark and desolate country road, listening to the song Hungry Like the Wolf on the car's tape player, when she says she saw a bushy-haired stranger on the road.
And there was a guy standing in the road, flagging me down, so I stopped. Everything was done in a matter of 5 or 10 seconds. He swung himself around and fired twice. One caught me in the arm, the other one I went off somewhere. Danny cried the whole way. I could hear him softly just moaning, and Christy was dying. God, all the blood, all the pain. When this man shot my daughter, my first reaction was to snap back to my childhood, to the pain that had happened to me back then, my marriage, my entrapment by society. This man was bigger than me. He was stronger than me. He had more power because he had a gun. And I stood there and I looked at Christy reaching, and the blood that just kept gushing out of her mouth. What do you do? If I had shot my own children, would I not have done a good job of it? Why would I have taken my kids to the hospital? Wouldn't I have made sure they were dead and then cried crocodile tears? That's insane to think that I would do such a thing and then bring the witnesses in against myself. That's crazy.
Number 4. On August 5th, 2009, Angela Simpson would commit a crime that would shock Phoenix, Arizona to its core. Simpson pleaded guilty on March the 22nd, 2009 to first-degree murder for killing 46-year-old Terry Nellen in what Phoenix police called one of the most heinous homicide cases the police department has ever seen. Angela Simpson impaled, stabbed, strangled, beat, and extracted teeth from Terry, then dismembered him and set pieces of his body on fire. Among other things, Simpson drove a nail into his head, bashed him with a tire iron, stabbed him around 50 times, and strangled him. Terry had been missing for about 3 days after he left an assisted care facility in his motorized wheelchair. Simpson was already in jail on an unrelated armed robbery charge when she was interviewed by police and admitted that she killed Terry. Angela Simpson told investigators that she lured Terry into an abandoned apartment and once inside, attacked, dismembered, and placed him in a trash can. Her detailed description matched the injuries that were found during the autopsy examination. When questioned why did she commit the crime, she told police that she thought he was a snitch. She was sentenced to life in prison.
Right.
But your belief is that you deserve the death penalty.
Definitely. Well, I believe God. That's what God says. Unless God is wrong, which I doubt, so.
And would God has told you that, or you just believe that
I believe
eye
that.
for an eye?
Right. Right. I expected to die for this.
What insights can you give us to you? What would you have anyone who may hear this interview know about you?
There's really nothing. People are going to believe what they want to believe. Judge the way they want to judge, just like I do, so.
Yeah.
So be it.
Why did you feel like you were in a position to be the judge and jury in Terry Neely's life?
I'm not sure.
I mean, I'm really not trying to get
Right.
you angry, but I want to see, you say, I killed this guy, he deserved to
Right.
die, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's there, you're up
Right.
front. I want to know if you have any concerns about what put you in that position to do that to them.
It was just too much. The things he talked about, it was too much.
Do you believe him? I mean, lots of people go around claiming I'm a snitch or make themselves...
Really? You don't say?
Well, I think they talk about law. I know people come. I've got associations with law enforcement. You know, I've got this. I'm a friend with this.
Do you happen to have a list of those people?
They name drop. Well, maybe in the circle, but you know
Right.
what I'm saying.
Right.
People say lots of things to make themselves sort of look.
Well, he picked the wrong nigger to say that to, if he wanted to brag about putting so many people in prison. He picked the wrong person.
And
so.
that's what did it to him. That's why you.
What, the bragging?
The bragging
Oh, yeah.
about putting people in prison.
Right.
People you knew.
No. No,
But
I don't know any of them.
Okay. Do you believe him? Do you think he really was a snitch?
Oops, if he wasn't. Yes, I believe he was.
Yeah. Is there a message for what? Is there a bottom line or a lesson to be learned from the story of Angela Simpson?
There's a bottom line to everything, but
What is the bottom line to this story?
whatever people want it to be. It doesn't
What do
matter
you
what
want
I
it to
say.
be,
I don't know.
Number 3. In December 2017, a 28-year-old man by the name of Manuel Vela was arrested in East Bakersfield, California for the murder of his girlfriend and child. Vela's girlfriend, Katrina Rivera, 30, was reported missing on December 8th. A child of Rivera said she last seen her mother getting into Vela's car, according to court's documents. 2 days later, deputies chased Vela's 2000 Hyundai Elantra on northeast Bakersfield. Eventually, Vela would be apprehended after attempting to use the baby as a shield. It was later determined that Vela socked and choked his pregnant girlfriend to death before he would carve the unborn child from her body and begin cutting it up by the side of a road next to a homeless shelter. Vela had not been evaluated by a psychiatrist when this interview took place, but he was clearly incompetent to stand trial. He called himself the Antichrist and claimed his father told him to kill his girlfriend and child. In January 2018, Vela was found unresponsive in his cell and pronounced dead. The official cause of death was suicide by hanging.
So, it's called a prophecy for failure. Everybody involved were not human nature. And then that's why I stood for a little bit. And that's why I cut her open when he told me to.
Who told you to?
The father. It's The same one who used to communicate with Jesus Christ is when he was here.
So, do you think that you're possessed by the devil?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm the Antichrist. I'm capable of taking separate business of any God that ever said the Creator was here to defy law of anything that I ever said that I was Adam from the first, you know, to understand the flesh or pleasure and take it into, put it into a soul, you know, the inside and out.
And how'd you do it? What instructions did you get to fulfill the request from your father? How did you go through this, killing your girlfriend and the baby? And look right at her.
How I do it was, I let it start as a child to keep a secret of knowing about, what is it, society? How they kept a secret from when Jesus was here. I'm not sure what quite your religion is. I don't care to ask anymore. But I respect the fact that Jesus Christ, as when he came back and rose in his beliefs and put it in a book, after that.
How did you get your instructions, and what instructions did you get?
Excuse. Oh, right. When I was 7, that's when it says put him in effect. Yeah, I lied.
What was that way? What did you come up with? What was your way to do this?
Oh, he said just do it as you were alone in the garden.
And did you use any instruments, tools? Did you use your hands?
Yeah, he gave me instructions of a razor blade that he provided me in the garden when no one else was there.
An X-Acto knife, or was it a utility knife?
Just about a razor blade there.
And you did all of this with the razor blade? You did the C-section with the razor blade?
Yes.
What were your thoughts through that process?
I said just taking the baby, cutting it as if I was some, what was it, savage or beast by myself.
Yeah.
Number 2. Dubbed the co-ed killer, as most of his victims were female college students, Ed Kemper is an American serial killer, cannibal, rapist, and necrophile who murdered 10 people, including his paternal grandparents and mother. He moved to Montana with his abusive mother before returning to California, where he murdered his paternal grandparents at the age of 15. He was diagnosed as a paranoid schizophrenic and sentenced to a state hospital as a criminally insane juvenile. After convincing psychiatrists he was rehabilitated, he was released at the age of 21. Kemper targeted young female hitchhikers during his killing spree, luring them in his vehicle and driving them to secluded areas where he would murder them before taking their corpse back home to be dismembered and violated. He then murdered his mother and one of her friends before turning himself in. On November 8, 1973, he received 7 years to life for each count and was sentenced to the California Medical Facility.
You were involved in the campus because your mother worked there?
Yes. I was also involved in killing co-eds because my mother was associated with college work, college co-eds, women, and had had a very strong and violently outspoken position on men for much of my upbringing. My mother was a sick, angry, hungry, and very sad woman. I hated her. It was getting easier to do. I was getting better at it. I was getting less detectable. I started flaunting that invisibility, severing a human head, 2 of them at night in front of my mother's residence, with her at home, my neighbors at home upstairs, their picture window open, the curtains open, 11 o'clock at night, the lights are on. All they have to do is walk by, look out, and I've had it. So here I pick up these 2 young ladies in Berkeley on Ashby Avenue. One has flowers in her hand, petite little dolls. They're in granny dresses, and they're hitchhiking, a couple of real experts. I want to see how together I am, if I can resist this temptation.
You going to Walnut Creek? Great.
they get in my car. They want to go one way. I know they need to go the other. If they go the way they're insisting on, we're headed right back out to where the first two co-eds were murdered. And I'm saying to myself, oh my God, all I got to do is relax and they'll take me to their death. I've got the gun in the car, the same one I've been doing it with. I insisted. As gently as I could, I took them where they needed to go, to their college.
Thanks a lot.
That was 1 week before I murdered my mother. I said, she's got to die, and I've got to die, or girls like that are going to die. And that's when I decided I'm going to murder my mother. I knew a week before she died, I was going to kill her. And she went out to a party, she got soused, she came home, went to sleep. I was woken up by that, came out. I walked up to her bed. She's laying there reading a paperback, as many thousands of nights before. And she said, oh, I suppose you're going to want to sit up all night and talk now. Shit. I looked at her, I said, no. I said, good night. And I knew I was going to kill her, you know? And I'm so cold, it's so hard. And that's the first time in 10 years I've looked at it that way. I mean, that intensely, that honestly. And in a rage, I went right back in. For 7 years, she said, I haven't had sex with a man because of you, my murderous son. This is one of our arguments. I cut off her head, and I humiliated her corpse. It's there, you know? A 6 young woman dead because of the way she raises her son and the way her son is raised, the way he grows up. And what's her closing words? I suppose you want to sit up all night and talk.
Number 1. Also known as the Milwaukee Cannibal, Jeffrey Dahmer was an American serial killer and sex offender who committed the murder and dismemberment of 17 men and boys from 1978 to 1991. Most of his murders involved cannibalism, necrophilia, and preservation of body parts. Dahmer sought out men, mostly African American, at gay bars, malls, and bus stops, lured them home with promises of money or sex, and gave them alcohol laced with drugs before strangling them to death. He would engage in sex acts with the corpse before dismembering them and disposing of them, often keeping their head as souvenirs. Dahmer's killing spree ended when he was arrested on July 22, 1991, after a would-be victim managed to escape and alert the authorities. They decided to investigate the man's claims. When the officer went to corroborate the story, he noticed Polaroid photographs of dismembered bodies laying around the bedroom. Further searches revealed a head in the refrigerator, 3 more in the freezer, and a catalog of other horrors. Dahmer was killed by his fellow inmate on November 28, 1994. The inmate reported that he was not only disturbed by Dahmer's crimes, but by a habit Dahmer had developed of fashioning severed limbs from prison food to antagonize other inmates.
Things have been building up gradually, going to bookstores, going to the bars, the gay bars, bath clubs. When that wasn't enough, buying sleeping pills and using it on various guys in the bath clubs. It just escalated slowly but surely. And after the second time, which was not planned, it was out of control. It felt like it was out of control.
Was there something sexual in the dismemberment of the bodies for you?
As time went on, yes, I did get there was a sexual part to that. I started saving the skeletons and preserving other parts, and one thing led to another. It took more and more deviant type behaviors to satisfy my urges, and so it just spiraled out of control.
Why the cannibalism?
It made me feel like they were a permanent part of me. Besides the just mere curiosity of what it would be like, it made them feel that they were a part of me, and it gave me a sexual satisfaction to do that.
Was it the killing that excited you, or is it what happened after the killing?
No, the killing was just a means to an end. That was the least satisfactory part. I didn't enjoy doing that. That's why I tried to create living zombies with uric acid in the drill, but it never worked. No, the killing wasn't the objective. I just wanted to have the person under my complete control, not having to consider their wishes, being able to keep them there as long as I wanted. It's not easy to say that, but that's what the motive was.